Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Fridays with Sandy. I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. We have Sandy Kreisberg in the house.
Hello, folks. Big shout out to our fans and
And
a
we
happy
have
Friday.
a Canadian in the house,
Yes.
former Army Reserve guy who is now working for Deloitte. And his name is Andrew.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me.
So Andrew is applying to Harvard, MIT, Columbia, Kellogg, and Toronto Rotman. He has a GRE of 331, which is actually higher than the class average at all of the schools that he's applying to. He has a 3.2 GPA from Concordia in Canada.
He says that's the middle of the class. And let me clarify, this is important. He's got a 331 GRE. The splits are 167 verbal, 164 quant. Those break out to 98% the verbal score and 78% on the quant score. Schools usually like to see above 80% on both sides. I think he qualifies on that.
I think that high verbal score speaks to his ability to fashion a very strong narrative because Andrew is a first generation college graduate. His dad was a plumber. His mom is an immigrant from Italy. He had a rough period of homelessness, spent 5 years in hospitality before starting on his bachelor's degree, and he has 2+ years in the Canadian Armed Forces. He is 32 years old. So Sandy, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I think it's a powerful story. And I think because the numbers are low and there's some sketchy parts of it, I don't think he's getting into HBS, MIT, or Columbia. Now, what do you think of Kellogg as a Hail Mary, John?
I think he's got a good shot there. I think he's got a really strong story. And frankly, it may be worth tossing an app Harvard way. I know you're the Harvard expert, and there are probably other people who have similar backgrounds and better scores, but you just never know.
Yeah, that's true. And the Harvard application isn't that much. If you've done the others, the Harvard application just fits together. It's, here's a question for you, Andrew. The Harvard application says, we've got your records, we've got your scores, what else do you, and your goals. What else do you want us to know about you?
I guess that I would say that I think getting into Harvard would mean a lot more to me than a lot of the other people that would be.
No. Oh boy. Hey, John, tell him how on the list of how bad an answer it's possible to be that was.
Why is that bad?
Okay, I'm going to give you advice that Sandy's also going to object to. Okay. At the lowest point in my life, I was in the doorway, covered in a blanket, shivering. That's my opening line to the essay.
Who's applying? Jesus?
I told you Sandy wouldn't like it. It would get my attention.
Okay, I'm a little lost in where we are.
Well, it's all about how does he begin that Harvard essay to make it as impactful and compelling as it needs it to be to overcome some of the other things in his application, right? I mean, that's what we're really talking about. And you've got a really narrative.
I'm not a believer in you need some kind of, grabber first sentence. It was 11:59 on a cold night.
No, not that.
Okay. The way here's a Harvard essay, and I'll go through this every week. Based on my experiences and work history, my goals are okay. And then you have to put your goals in some very powerful but realistic way. So what would be your answer to that, Andrew? This is worth going through.
My goals, basically to pivot to a more business related capacity. I learned my last 7 months and the internship at RBC that although most of my education, my skill set is technical, that I need a business education to pivot into more business related roles where I can make a bigger impact.
Yeah, that's not good. You got to be much more specific.
Okay.
What would you say, Sandy, instead?
My goals are to be an impactful leader in the X and Y field. You know, I admire leaders like A, B, and C, or I admire companies like A, B, and C, and I admire leaders like Jack and Jill.
Yeah, and here's the point of that. You know, schools want people who they think will be leaders when they graduate and successful. So your aspirations need to fulfill their goals to recruit and enroll.
Yeah, they also don't want people who are out of it.
Yeah.
You've got to show them that with a down-to-earth, realistic roadmap, okay, that you're in the game, that you know what you're doing, that this isn't some Hail Mary pass or, you know, flight of fancy or, you know, whatever. That's why the goal statement is very important. And it helps to be specific. It helps to point. The best way to talk about your goals is just to talk about people and experiences and companies that have influenced you.
Now, Sandy, should he address the 3.2? Because obviously that's a number that's below the class average at almost every school he's applying to. So should he say that that's not an indication of my future academic performance? I passed two actuarial.
Yeah, I mean, on the Harvard app, there's a little box for that. You know, the Harvard app says, you know, is there anything wacko, you know, unusual that you need to explain or, you know, give us the phone number of your probation officer or whatever.
So
I'm not kidding. There's just a regular box. Just explain it.
You want to say, you know, it's not indicative of your performance in that. You could even mention, I'm imagining that you had a child during that time. And you could also mention the fact that you passed 2 highly rigorous actuarial tests.
I think the child will help.
Yeah.
Your application will be read by mothers.
There was also a bit of, just because my school's in Quebec, which is a French province, there was a bit of a culture shock and transition. It took me a while, to be quite honest.
That's worth pointing out too.
I pointed out quickly. I would go several issues. You know, explain. You know, it took me it took me a while to adjust to the. Were you being instructed in French?
No, it was in English, but just like finding an apartment and like a part-time job.
Yeah, sure. It took me a while to adjust to the culture and, you know, even though instruction was in English, the everyday activities were conducted in French. I take it that's the case, right?
I should also point out that Andrew is set on going to an M7 school or going locally, which is why Rotman is in the mix with Columbia, MIT, and Harvard and Kellogg. But we think that it wouldn't be a bad idea for Andrew to apply to Michigan, UVA Darden, and possibly Duke or Tuck. We think all those schools are more within reach. All of them have world-class MBA programs. All of them would allow you to fulfill your ambition and then some. And all of them would be more accepting of someone who's 32 years of age, incidentally, and your background. So, I mean, that's your call, but
John's on fire today, folks.
I really would do that, and I think it's worthwhile doing because those are fantastic MBA programs, and all of them, incidentally, they may not be M7 schools, but we're right in the mix of the top 10.
And your dreams can come true there. That's the important thing.
And you'll get tremendous amounts of support. You'll meet sensational people who'll be your lifelong friends.
Yeah. Okay. Andrew, here's the question. We'll finish up with this. Give me a roadmap of what you want to do after business school. Like what job would you want, where, and then what would your next job be, and where do you see yourself at the kind of high tide of your career?
High tide. Yeah.
Well,
like
I mean, when you're 40, what job do you want?
Yeah, I would like to be in more of a business development role, probably in either insurtech or fintech, just because that's where all my experience thus far lays. And then by my 40s, ideally either
What
like,
job do you want after business school? This is a question you should be able to, and you and everybody else watching this, you should be able to answer.
You want a role that has broader management exposure to fulfill your desire to see a lot of different business situations. So maybe you want to be a consultant.
It's not folks, it's not a shanda, which is an Iroquois word for shame. Okay, it's not a shanda to say you want to work for McKinsey, Bain, or BCG.
Just don't ever say you want to make a lot of money.
No, you say what I'd like to do is work for a consulting firm where I can learn, general, business strategy, and that would be a great place to meet people and work out what I want to do. And after that, my second job might be at a company like X or Y. You really need to have proper nouns, if you know what that is. The proper nouns as answers to that.
In long term, you want a senior leadership role in a fintech company or something. That's all, right?
Yeah, and I keep saying this also. You should be able to point to someone whose job you want in 40 years, or
Yeah, no. No, I appreciate it. I have a lot for sure.
Yeah, that's great homework because it'll help you answer the question. It'll also help you figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's like put into a little box with a nice ribbon all the advice. Most important advice: make sure you tell a really strong story. You're a first gen grad. You were homeless for a while. You struggled through that period, and you rose above that adversity by managing people in the Army, and by landing your job at a world-class company like Deloitte. You have a lower than expected GPA, and the reason is because you had trouble negotiating a completely different culture. You had a child during that time. And in addition to that, it doesn't matter because basically you passed 2 highly rigorous actuarial tests. Other piece of advice here is apply to Michigan, UVA, Tuck, and Duke, or some set of them. And don't waste your time on MIT and Columbia. You could do a Hail Mary pass to Harvard. Good luck. We don't think you're going to get in. Kellogg, you have a much better shot. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, hey, John, A+ for you.
You want to have impact with other people. And this is, you got to do that.
Yeah, and just have names of companies and people that you admire.
Yes.
Someone whose job you want when you're 40, and you really need a roadmap.
Okay, Sandy, his odds at Harvard Business School. What are his odds at Harvard Business School where the admit rate is 12%?
His odds are very outside. They're very, it's not going to happen.
Okay, so Sandy's saying it's below the average, below the 12% number, which is the average, okay? And then for Kellogg, what do you think it would be? Where the admit rate is something like 22%. You think he's around 30, 28, something like that?
Of getting in or getting
in, not just getting interviewed, because they interview everyone.
Yeah, they interview everybody. No, I think his odds are below the average. He's okay. I like him, and you like him. Yeah, but there's a lot of people applying who are younger, cuter, and have better jobs.
I don't know. Andrew looks pretty cute to me.
Well, cute by their eyes.
I know, by stats. Yeah. Cute stats. And then Rotman, we're going to get into Rotman. And in Rotman, great school. They have a fantastic MBA program. I know well. I like it a lot.
I would focus on what can he do to get into Rotman? How can he really bang his shield and say,
go and meet and get to know the admissions people.
Yeah. Right.
I actually sat in admissions committee meetings at Rotman to see how they choose people. And I guarantee you, when multiple members of the admissions team have met you and they've had a good impression on you, they will be your advocates in that meeting and you'll get in. That's the
Yeah,
most.
but how do you get to meet, what can you do?
Go to their events.
Yeah, this is critical. This is a business skill, okay? You got to network and schmooze, okay? Those are some of the fundamental pillars of being a successful business person. And
Yep.
it's kind of heuristic. It's self-testing. You've got to go to their events and just don't sit there like a Zekel. You've got to go to an event and say, I'm not here to just waste time. I'm here to make contact. So my work starts when the event ends. I've got to schmooze with people. I've got to meet people. That's your attitude. And that's not the attitude most people have.
And that won't work at Harvard.
2 of the 4 schools I mentioned. So
Yeah, will it work with Harvard?
or talk.
Can I schmooze my way into Harvard?
No.
Fair enough.
Well, there you go. Hey, Andrew, good luck. We're rooting for you. I don't know how I can emphasize even more the other schools that you need to apply to, because you can't only apply to all the reach schools and then one school that you probably will get in. You need to have a little more variety in this set.
You need more safety and fewer lottery tickets.
Yeah. You don't want that many lottery tickets. Don't want to set yourself up for that much disappointment.
And it's too much work.
It's way too much work. You go try these other options. I think you will be very, very.
Who's going to write your recommendations generically?
I have a couple supervisors at Deloitte.
Okay, are they on your side? Do they know how to play the game?
Are they MBAs?
I don't know if they've ever written an MBA.
Okay, I'm glad I asked this. You've got to work another one of your tasks, and this is what business people do. Okay, you've got to network with these people. You got to butter them up, and you got to schmooze them, and you got to make life easy for them. So, John, what would you suggest doing for that to happen after they agree to write your recommendation?
How to do a little memo for them, a cheat sheet to remind them of some of the things that you've done.
Well, yeah, right. They'll probably say you write a draft of it, and you'll go, yes, sir.
And the things you want them to emphasize in the recommendation letter that will reinforce your story.
Yeah, okay. And here's something else about Canada, okay? In America, if a recommender says, this is, I've been doing this for 10 years and I've dealt with 100 people like Andrew, and, Andrew is in the top 10% of those 100 people. Okay, that's Americanese for this guy sucks, all right? In Canada, that would be impressive, okay? Canadians, the level of rhetoric between an American recommendation and a Canadian recommendation, you need to apply a translator almost. You have to tell your recommenders that, first of all, you say, I'll write you a draft, and that draft cannot be humble, friend. It's got to really state that, I've been in this business X years, I've dealt with Y people, and Andrew is in the top, 5% of those people for the following reasons.
It's got to be.
You've got to have the balls to present that to them and prepare them for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not dealing with people in the Salvation Army here. These guys work for Deloitte. They know how games are played.
All right, Andrew, good luck. Sandy, thank you once again. And for all of you out there, good luck on your journey to business school. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You've been watching Fridays with Sandy.